Whether you're brand new in business or you've been around for ages, there are opportunities for you to be featured in the news every single month. Hi, I'm Angel Tuccy with Vedette Global. I'm here to share some top tips and secrets that you might know about the best ways to leverage traditional media and PR to grow your small business. What is PR and how does it relate to a small business? I think so often when small businesses start, they want to create that publicity, that PR buzz, but really don't understand what PR is. And PR is really public relations. It's getting your story out in the media using traditional media sources such as news, radio, and television. And there are a lot of options when it comes to creating visibility for your small business. And right now, all eyes tend to be on social media. But social media can be a really busy and crowded place for small businesses to create the lift and exposure they're really looking for. Traditional media is still a really elevated way to get your story in front of your target market. Traditional media like news, newspapers, radio, television, these are all often untapped resources for small businesses because they think they're too small to leverage media and PR, and they think it's really something that only the larger corporations have access to, but that's not true. There are lots of opportunities, and journalists every single day are looking for local interest stories, community stories, local news, which is what the small business represents. The benefit of using traditional media and PR versus social media is huge for a small business owner. Because when you are featured in the media, when you're featured on a news story, on a news station versus in social media, you are the only brand that's being spoken about at that time. So you're not competing for noise, you're not competing for impressions, you're not competing for visibility, and your brand is actually elevated by being featured on a media platform. People recognize those news stations, those media platforms, and just by having your story featured on a news platform builds a level of trust, creates incredible visibility, awareness, and exposure, and the audience, right? They reach a whole untapped audience that we often can't reach on our own using social media. It's interesting, most businesses think they don't have something major coming up to get press. I promise you, if you look at your calendar, you look at your to-do list, there's always something that you can promote. Did you hire somebody new? Did you bring on a new vendor? Do you have a new product or a new program or a new service that you've added to the mix? Do you do something with a local charity? Are you doing a fundraising event? Are you raising funds for a charity? Are you giving back to a nonprofit? Are you joining a board? I mean, you think about your to-do list and all the things that you do every single month as a business owner. Often what we think is ordinary is truly magic to other people. So look at your to-do list. Like, look at all the things that you're wanting to accomplish. Did you hit certain mile markers? Did you serve your 1,000th client, right? Or 100th customer? Look at the data points that you have and don't underestimate any of it. Oftentimes, you could submit your press releases to your local news station for free. They'll host it on their website for free. And if they like your story, if it's something that's got great community interest or a feel-good story to it, or a local person done good, right? Especially if you're from the area and you've started a local business, they'll come out and they could even bring out a news crew and do a whole news feature on you. And none of this costs a small business anything to be featured in the traditional media using a local news station. Finding the right contact and finding the right pitch for a local news station can be a little tricky to navigate if you've never done it before. But honestly, this is what they're there for. They want to make it really easy to get your story featured in the news. And even though there are a lot of stories they could be pitching or that are being pitched to them, they're really super friendly to work with. So most local news stations have right on their website a place that you can submit your press release for free. It's right there on their homepage, right? Submit a press release here. They often have a form that you can fill out or an email address that sends you directly to their email news desk. And even though you think, right, that this is just going into some random inbox, they really are reviewed and read by somebody on staff. And they are looking for stories to feature. So if you have a good story, again, something really community interest, heart-centered, giving back, something that really supports the community, those are the stories they're looking for. And so if your press release hits on any of those like little hot buttons, they'll often reach out to you, and a couple of things can happen. One, they could just host your press release on their website. Again, there's no cost to this, and you now have your brand featured, your business story featured on a local media news site. And those local media news sites are usually featured on major publications. So ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. So if they pick up your story and it's shared on a Fox news station, you get to say, as seen on this Fox news station, and you were featured. And you have a hyperlink that you can repost and repurpose with great social media content. Second thing that could happen is they could call you up just to have a quick little feature, maybe even on a Zoom call, and get a quote or just run a quick little interview with you right in your home business. You don't even have to go to the studio. Third thing that could happen, and this is really, again, depends on the excitement of your story, they could send out a news crew and do a story on your grand opening, covering your story. So one of three things, and all things are great opportunities for a small business to create that publicity. If you have something time sensitive like a grand opening, the rule of thumb is at least 3 weeks in advance, you'll want to alert them and give them some heads up so that you can get on your schedule. But even if you send it to them 3 weeks in advance, you're going to want to send some reminders and follow up and have a follow-up conversation. So you can call the news desk and let them know, right, this is coming up. Is there any chance we can get this live coverage? Can you send out a news crew? Can you send out a news van to cover it? And so 3 weeks in advance, I would send that release out. 2 weeks I would go by and send a reminder, and the week before I would call and confirm. Headlines are critical when it comes to press releases and getting the attention of the news. And these days, there are so many little chat and AI resources that you can type your information in and get some really great samples of headlines. You can also just go and look at their website and see what are some of the other news headlines that they've used, and kind of mimic that same style and format, so you don't have to recreate this from scratch. If you've never done it before, there are incredibly great resources online to help you create those headlines. But really think this, 7 words or less, always to the point. They're not clever, they're clear. And so think about it even just simply, grand opening for your small business, right? Whatever the name of your business is, launching their grand opening. They're not clever when it comes to headlines, but if you do have something that you're giving back, you're supporting a local charity, you've got something that is near and dear to your heart, there's an emotional tie to it, you can always add that into the headline. Maximum length of a headline is 10 words. How often you pitch a story is something that we underestimate. As a small business, you really should have your story in the news every single month, coming up with something new that you're doing. And if you're not, again, just rework it, relook at your calendar, your to-do list, all the things that you're doing, and think, what can I celebrate the most this month? And give your story to the press every single month. And one of the things I teach my clients to do is to have one single day that they have as their PR day. For small businesses, often, think of the day that's your birthday. Right? My birthday falls on the 18th. So on the 18th of the month, it's PR day. I look at my calendar 2 weeks back, 2 weeks ahead. What's the most exciting thing that I'm working on right now? And I put together a headline and a press release, and I submit that to the news. So pick a day of the month and just be consistent with it. One of the benefits of traditional media is the ongoing building up of momentum, of having your brand featured every single month, of being recognizable, people saying, I've heard of you, seeing your brand everywhere. A couple ways you can track your visibility and your reach, leveraging media, traditional media and PR, of course, is asking people, how did they discover you? Where did they hear about you? Now, a lot of times they won't remember, right? I can't remember, I've seen you everywhere. That's always a good sign. You can also leverage your social media by just doing a fun little Google search on your brand name and seeing what comes up in the media. And you can even track, a lot of these news sites have data on how many impressions their stories get. And so you can see, oftentimes a press release, when we do press releases for our clients, they can reach up into the millions that those stories can get viewed and seen. So it's really impactful by leveraging the media. Media and PR is an important piece of that because it's so available to local business owners, and the low cost to doing it yourself and getting access to your local journalists. it would be silly to avoid it. There's so many opportunities for a small business owner, and if you're not reaching out and building relationships with your local journalists, you're really missing out on incredibly valuable exposure for your business. We'd love to hear how you're using media and PR to grow your small business. Email us at help@PosterMyWall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you create more visibility for your business, visit my website at makeyourbigimpact.com.